The cell was silent. Not quiet, silent. Inside ADX Florence, the most secretive prison in America, silence was not peace. It was pressure. It pressed into the ears, the chest, the mind. A man sat alone in a concrete box, staring at a wall he had stared at for years. No window he could see out of. No voice he could hear. No touch. No sound of other people. 23 hours a day. Every day. This was ADX Florence, Colorado, USA, the prison no one escapes, not even in their mind. The man pressed his hands against the wall. He whispered his own name just to hear a voice. The sound felt strange, like it did not belong to him anymore. Somewhere far above, a light clicked. That meant movement. That meant the 1 hour. And that hour would change everything. ADX Florence sits in the mountains of Colorado, far from cities and crowds. From the outside, it looks calm. Clean. Almost peaceful. No loud noise. No chaos. Just concrete, steel, and silence. But inside, it is built for the most dangerous criminals in the United States. This prison holds men who came from New York City, Chicago, and Los Angeles. Men who once led gangs. Men who once ordered violence. Men who once believed they controlled everything. At ADX Florence, control belongs to the building. Every inmate lives alone. Every door is solid steel. Every move is planned. Every second is watched. The rule is simple, 23 hours a day in isolation. The last hour is not freedom. It is another kind of cage. One of the men sent here was Michael Carter. Michael grew up in Chicago. Noise was part of life there, sirens, voices, traffic, arguments. Even danger was loud. When Michael was arrested and sent through the federal prison system, he thought he understood prison. He was wrong. The day Michael arrived at ADX Florence, he was shackled at the wrists, waist, and ankles. Guards did not speak to him. They guided him down long, clean hallways. The lights were bright. The floors were quiet. Too quiet. When his cell door closed, the sound was final. Heavy. Like something locking deep inside his head. The cell was small. Concrete bed. Concrete desk. Concrete sink. A slit in the wall where food would come. A narrow window angled toward the sky, not the world. Michael stood still for a long time. Then he sat down. Then he waited. The first days felt slow. Michael tried to count time by meals. Breakfast tray. Lunch tray. Dinner tray. Always the same. Always alone. No talking. No shouting. No noise. At first, Michael welcomed the quiet. He had lived loud for years. He thought this would be easier. After a week, the silence began to feel heavy. After a month, it felt painful. After a year, it felt dangerous. Michael started talking to himself. Then he started answering himself. He replayed memories of Chicago just to feel something real. He remembered streets. Faces. Sounds. Those memories began to fade. ADX Florence does that. The prison does not beat inmates. It does not scream at them. It does not need to. It waits. Another man inside ADX Florence was Anthony Rivera, transferred from New York City. Anthony had been known for never staying quiet. In New York, silence meant weakness. At ADX Florence, silence was forced. Anthony spent his days pacing the cell, 5 steps forward, 5 steps back. He counted them. Over and over. When the 1 hour came, he was placed in an outdoor cage made of concrete and steel. No grass. No people. Just sky. He looked up at the sky every day, trying to remember what freedom felt like. Some inmates broke faster. Guards at ADX Florence are trained to watch for it. Men who stop responding. Men who stop eating. Men who stare at nothing for hours. Isolation changes people. That is the point. ADX Florence was built after other prisons failed. It was designed to control men no other prison could handle. The idea was simple: if inmates cannot interact, they cannot organize violence. It worked. Violence is rare at ADX Florence. But something else replaces it. The mind turns inward. Michael began to feel time slip. Days blended together. Nights felt endless. He forgot what day it was. Sometimes he forgot what year it was. He pressed his ear to the door once, hoping to hear another human being. Nothing. Anthony tried to scream one day. His voice echoed back at him, small and weak. He stopped screaming after that. Men from Los Angeles arrived too. Former gang leaders. Former organizers. Men used to giving orders. At ADX Florence, no one listened. That broke something inside them. Some inmates wrote letters non-stop. Others stopped writing entirely. Some prayed. Some stared. The prison kept records. Mental health checks. Short conversations through the door. Everything controlled. Still, the pressure grew. One afternoon, during Michael's 1 hour outside, he noticed something strange. The light felt brighter. The air felt thinner. His hands were shaking. He realized he had not heard another person's voice in weeks. That scared him more than any fight ever had. Back in his cell, Michael lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. He thought about Chicago. He thought about noise. He thought about the things he once hated. Now he missed them. Anthony, in another part of the prison, stopped pacing. He sat on the floor instead. He whispered to himself. He began to forget words. Guards noticed. ADX Florence is not loud when something goes wrong. It is quiet. That night, a guard walking the tier noticed Michael was not standing for count. No movement. No response. The guard stopped. Another guard came. They looked through the small window in the door. Michael was on the floor. Not moving. The alarm did not scream. It clicked. And somewhere deep inside ADX Florence, a door unlocked that almost never does. Because when isolation finally breaks a man, even America's most secretive prison cannot stay silent anymore. The door opened without a sound. At ADX Florence, doors never slammed. They never shouted their presence. They moved quietly, smoothly, like the prison itself was careful not to wake something dangerous. 2 guards stood outside Michael Carter's cell. Their faces were calm, trained to show nothing. One of them knelt and looked inside. Michael was alive. Barely. He lay on the cold concrete floor, eyes open but unfocused. His lips moved, but no sound came out. His body had not failed. His mind had simply drifted too far away. Medical staff arrived quickly. Still quiet. Still controlled. Michael was lifted, strapped, and moved down the hallway. No other inmate saw him. No one shouted. No one asked questions. That was how ADX Florence handled emergencies. Invisible. Michael woke up in a medical cell. It looked almost the same as his regular cell, just cleaner, brighter. A doctor spoke to him through a small opening. "Do you know where you are?" Michael tried to answer. Nothing came out. The doctor nodded slowly and made notes. This had happened before. Isolation did not break everyone the same way, but it broke almost everyone eventually. Michael was kept under watch for several days. He was spoken to more than usual. Asked simple questions. Given short instructions. Then, just like that, he was returned to his cell. The same cell. The same silence. ADX Florence did not change its rules because a man almost disappeared inside his own mind. Anthony Rivera heard about Michael days later, not from guards, but from the walls. In ADX Florence, inmates never saw each other, but they learned how to listen. A cough through a vent. A tap through the wall. A pause in routine. Anthony pressed his ear to the concrete one night. 3 slow taps came back. Someone was still alive. Anthony tapped once in return. That was all they were allowed. That was all they had. Anthony had been in ADX Florence for years now. He had come from New York City, where life had been loud and fast. Here, time felt thick and sticky. He could feel it on his skin. He marked days by small things. A slightly warmer meal. A different guard's footsteps. A change in the light coming through the sky window. That window showed only blue. No clouds. No birds. Just sky. Anthony sometimes wondered if the sky was real. Men from Los Angeles and Chicago struggled the most, God said. They came from places full of people, full of noise, full of movement. Isolation hit them hard. But Anthony noticed something else. The men who had once led others broke the fastest. Control was taken from them completely. No talking. No ordering. No audience. That kind of power loss ate at the mind. Anthony began to feel strange things. His heart raced for no reason. His hands shook. Sometimes he felt like the walls were moving closer. He reported it once during a mental health check. The response was calm. "Breathe," the voice said through the door. "You're safe." Safe. Anthony almost laughed. Safe did not feel like this. Weeks passed. Months blurred. Time stopped meaning much. Michael Carter returned to routine, but something had changed in him. He no longer whispered his name. He no longer paced. He sat a day. Still. That worried the guards more than shouting ever did. Anthony felt himself slipping too. He forgot words. Simple words. He would start a sentence in his head and lose it halfway through. To fight it, he told stories out loud. Stories about New York. About street corners. About summer heat and winter noise. His voice sounded strange in the cell. Like it belonged to someone else. One day, during the 1 hour outside, Anthony noticed something new. A crack. A thin crack in the concrete of the outdoor cage. He stared at it for the entire hour. That crack became important. It meant change existed. It meant the prison was not perfect. That thought gave him hope. But hope is dangerous in ADX Florence. Back inside his cell, Anthony waited for food. The tray came late. Later than usual. He stood at the door longer than normal. Then he heard it. A sound. A real sound. Not inside his head. A distant shout. It was faint. Broken. But it was human. Anthony's heart raced. He pressed his ear to the door. The sound came again. Someone was screaming. Guards moved quickly. Footsteps echoed down the hall. Orders were given quietly but firmly. Anthony stepped back from the door. This was rare. Very rare. In another part of the prison, an inmate from Los Angeles had lost control. He screamed at the walls. He hit the door until his hands bled. He would not stop. Isolation had finally cracked him open. Guards restrained him. Medical staff intervened. He was removed. The screaming stopped. Silence returned. But the silence felt different now. Heavier. Michael felt it too. He lay on his bed staring at the ceiling. The memory of the scream replayed in his head. It reminded him that he was not alone. And that scared him. Because it meant this could happen to anyone. Michael thought about Chicago again. About sounds he once hated. Sirens. Arguments. Traffic. He would give anything to hear them again. Anthony sat on the floor and pressed his forehead to the concrete wall. Stay here, he whispered to himself. Stay here. That was the rule now. Not escape. Not freedom. Just survival. ADX Florence continued its routine. Meals. Counts. Checks. Silence. But beneath it, something was shifting. More inmates showed signs of mental strain. More medical checks. More quiet removals. The prison was still secure. Still controlled. But the cost was growing. One afternoon, during Michael's 1 hour, a guard paused longer than usual. Stand still, the guard said. Michael froze. The guard looked at him carefully, then moved on. Michael's hands were shaking. Back in his cell, he realized something terrible. He could no longer remember his mother's voice. He knew her face. He knew her name. But the sound was gone. That was when he understood. ADX Florence did not just lock bodies away. It erased pieces of people. Anthony felt the same fear days later when he tried to remember a song from his childhood. Nothing came. Just silence. That night, Anthony tapped on the wall again. 1 tap. A pause. 3 taps came back. Michael was still there. Still fighting. But how long could anyone fight silence? As ADX Florence settled back into its perfect, quiet order, one truth became clear to the men locked inside. No one escaped this prison. Not through tunnels. Not through doors. And not through their own minds. And somewhere deep inside the concrete walls, something was slowly reaching its breaking point again.